We're Group 5, and we did our case on Countrywide. A little bit of background for you. Countrywide was founded in 1969 by Angelo Mozillo and David Lieb, who held the title of Chairman and CEO and President through the Bank of America acquisition in 2008. It was the largest originator of single-family mortgages in the USA, starting in the early 90s. They had $40 billion in mortgages in 1992 alone, and continued to grow up through the merger in 2008. The company operated in 3 divisions, first of which was wholesale, second was retail, and third was correspondence. They also had 4 categories of mortgage loans. The first was prime mortgage loans, which were prime credit quality first lien mortgage loans secured by single-family residents. Prime home equity loans were prime credit quality second lien mortgage loans secured by single-family mortgages. Third was the non-prime mortgage loans, which had first and second liens secured by single-family residences. And last was the commercial real estate loans, which were prime credit quality mortgage loans secured by commercial properties, such as apartment buildings, retail properties, office buildings, etc. Most of the events that we'll focus on in our case occurred from the early 2000s forward, so we just wanted to show you this slide to demonstrate the rapid growth from 2003 to 2007 in loans funded by Countrywide Bank. So now we'll talk about the environment.
So next we're going to take a look at both the internal and external environments at Countrywide. At the time of their collapse, the United States economy was facing the greatest economic downturn since the Great Depression. During this time, another phenomena surfaced. It was called the housing bubble. As people lost their trust in the stock markets, they turned to housing as a safer investment. Due to very low barriers of entry in the mortgage industry, the number of loan originators increased by 657% from 1987 to 2006. Eventually, this overbuilding led to overinvestment, and the housing bubble burst. Next, when looking at the internal environment of Countrywide, things don't get much better than what was going on externally. Countrywide employees were complaining even before the company collapsed. Their complaints included employees being overworked, racial biases towards minorities, and friends of Mozillo gaining special treatment. All of these complaints were heard by Mozillo and then written off. Another early concern was that the incentive programs were based on the number of loan originations without factoring in defaults. Policies like these motivate employees to act unethically. Now it's very interesting to take a look at how former employees described the company and former executives. A former executive, Michael G. Winston, describes a conversation that he had as a new hire with a longtime executive from the company. They were in the parking lot when Winston noticed the executive's license plate read Fundum. When Winston asked what this meant, he was told that it was the company's growth plan for 2006. Winston then asked, "What if the person has no job?" To which the executive replied, "Fundum." Dave Sullivan, a former executive vice president for the company, said that Mozillo was God. Anything he said went. And finally, Sharon Doyle, a third-party management specialist hired by the company, said that the main organizing principle at Countrywide was to rule by fear and manipulation. One of the most interesting stories that really relates back to the internal environment at Countrywide was that of Cinder Niemela. Niemela was a management culture guru hired to assess the company's culture, as she had done for many big companies such as Boeing. She came in and surveyed 40,000 Countrywide employees about their satisfaction levels for the top executives in the company. Her results show that the satisfaction levels at Countrywide was between 30 and 40%, and that of a normal company would be 80 to 85%, and certainly never less than 70. Along with others who asked questions, Niemela was fired after 16 months with the company in 2008.
Next, we look at some of the events that led to the fall of Countrywide. First, we look at the changes of standards used to issue loans. Loans were originally issued on the basis which was known as the 5 C's: character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. Now Mozilla thought that these were much too strict, and wanted to change the system to where only the ones who were unwilling to make payments would be denied. So no matter what an individual's current financial situation was, as long as they said they were willing, Countrywide was willing to issue them a loan. Subprime loans, also known as non-prime loans, originally were issued to individuals who had a FICO score of 660 or below. Countrywide changed the criteria to include individuals with bad credit, loans that required 2 lenders to finance the home, no document loans, state income loans, and loans made to individuals with recent bankruptcies or that had made late payments. Finally, we look at prime non-conforming loans, which are very similar to prime loans, just didn't meet all the criteria set forth by the government guidelines to be a prime loan. These were still considered to be relatively low-risk investments, though Countrywide failed to disclose that these also included loans with no documentation, no state income loans, or a loan-to-value of 95% and higher. Essentially, management was classifying these loans as less risky loans without knowing the assets, income, or employment of the individual applying for the loan. From 2001 to 2006, there was an increase in prime non-conforming loans from 16.5% to 45.2%, and subprime grew from 7.8% to 8.7%. Over half of Countrywide's portfolio was made up of risky investments. Mozilla himself knew the dangers and even mentioned that subprime loans are the most dangerous product in existence and there can be nothing more toxic. Management also had a political interest that it wished to improve upon by implementing the VIP or Friends of Angelo program. This program provided sweetheart loans to key political officials that could help benefit Countrywide's interests. The political parties involved received special perks such as low rates, even lower underwriting standards, and waiving of fees, just to name a few. The main benefit the management wanted to receive was support from Fannie Mae, which purchased many of the risky loans from Countrywide that allowed them to record gains on sales before ultimately the loans defaulted while in the hands of Fannie Mae. The Fannie Mae had to be bailed out and fully taken over by the government, which in 2010 had cost taxpayers about $150 billion, and losses would likely range between $224 billion and $360 billion. Finally, we will conclude with some of the penalties that the company and Mozilla faced. After buying Countrywide in 2008, Bank of America settled $600 million of class action suits. The federal government is still seeking $864 million today. Angelo Mozilla was also charged with a great number of crimes, but settled with the SEC for $675 million in 2010. Bank of America paid $20 million of this penalty. This penalty is a fraction of what Mozilla made in 1 year alone.